Hey Resetters, Tanner here to talk about when you should be eating. So we've already gone through the what and the how with your eating ritual. Now let's talk about the when. Let's dive right in. First and best time to eat is as a reward after physical exertion. So this is something that isn't just, kind of this carrot thing that we're dangling from like a mental psychological standpoint, but it's also something that is built into our cellular makeup, even our genetics here. And let me explain it like this. So you guys have experienced the runner's high, probably. So what happened is our ancestors who were hunters were not as fast as the animals that they were chasing. The way that humans, as pack animals, have hunted is they hunt in groups. And though we can't outrun at a sprint, elk, deer, bison, we are incredibly resilient. We have incredible relative endurance, and we also can hunt in packs because we're relatively smart. So the humans that got a release of endorphins, norepinephrine, serotonin, dopamine, all these kind of feel-good, neurotransmitters and stress hormones when they were running for long distances were the ones that ultimately got their prey and were rewarded with food so that they could feed themselves and they could survive and go on to have children. So the evolution of that is that now us here today, which are the benefactors of, the strongest surviving in our genetics, we get this, this high from exercise, especially from, cardiovascular aerobic exercise. There's this down to a chemical level, this satisfaction feeling. Well, after that, there is also this reward sensation that hormonally, when we eat after training, particularly after intense physical activity, high intensity intervals, intense strength training, stuff like that, it actually releases a hormonal cascade that builds and repairs muscle and tissue, stimulates metabolic function, burns fat, and actually makes us more vital, healthy. It stimulates immune function. It actually is part of the circadian rhythm that helps with our sleep cycle and stuff like that. So you generally want to reward yourself with food after intense physical exertion. Now there are some caveats there, things that we'll get into later in the program and stuff like that. But specifically after like intense physical activity, like your strength training, reward yourself with food. Okay. Number two, and this is something that's simple but very powerful, is eat when you're actually physically hungry, which is to imply not when you're just bored, stressed, or looking for distraction. That's like really one of the most powerful ones. So if you just were to stick to those two, you'd really be in good shape here. Another great time to eat is in the evening as you wind down and spend time connecting with loved ones. And this also kind of goes back to some of the reward stuff, from a mental, psychological, but also from a chemical, hormonal level, is you've worked all day. Our ancestors would have worked all day. And in all kind of ancestral tribal cultures, there is a coming together of the family and the tribe in the evening to share a meal, to share connection, to share family. If you are fortunate enough to live with people that matter and people that you care about, it is a great time to sit down with them, connect, share a meal. I mean, there is stuff here that can't be measured, kind of the vibration between people, but things that we certainly feel and things that are palpable, it's great to share a meal with people that you care about. But from a hormonal standpoint, we also, with a large meal, we stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, the parasympathetic nervous system is a part of your autonomic nervous system, the part of your nervous system that happens automatically. And when we stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, that's the part of that nervous system that's our rest and digest system. Okay, that's the kind of system that starts to unwind us, to relax us, to soften us, to get us ready for sleep and rest. So it's great to eat a meal in the evening, especially kind of as the sun's going down, in that waning light or just after sunset, to help stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system so that we can rest, digest, rebuild, and set ourselves up for great sleep. All right, the next time that's a great time to eat in the morning or a great time to eat is first thing in the morning. And that's to kickstart your metabolism. So you typically want to keep this meal light. That's one of the caveats. You don't want to eat a heavy meal generally first thing in the morning, because you don't want to stimulate that rest and digest nervous system at a time in the morning in which you're actually trying to stimulate your kind of like creative or fight or flight. Like you're about to get down to work, you're about to do stuff. You don't want to eat a heavy meal, but it can be a way of eating first thing in the morning to stimulate your metabolism. Now, I would say that the caveats here is that if you are going to eat first thing in the morning, it would be great, ideally, if you did a little bit of movement first, and it doesn't need to be anything crazy or intense. It could be, a movement flow, mobility session that gets your heart rate up a little bit, stimulates the lymphatic system, stimulates circulation. It could be a brisk walk. It could be a morning jog. It could be an intense workout if that's what you like doing. That would be like a great thing. It would be like, okay, we're gonna feed 3 birds with one hand. We're gonna move first thing in the morning to stimulate metabolism. We're going to do an intense training session, and then we're gonna feed ourselves early in the morning immediately after physical exertion. That's certainly an option that checks several boxes. Another thing that I'll just throw in there too is if you begin starting your day with a cold plunge to stimulate metabolic activity and also take advantage of that neurotransmitter dopamine and serotonin flood to the brain, and then eat, that would be the way that you could kind of pair eating a breakfast in the morning with something that would kind of extract the most benefit from that. Now, the exception here is if you are doing intermittent fasting or time restricted feeding, then breakfast is probably the smartest meal to remove, in my opinion. It's not the only way to do it, but that's the way I would do it. So if you are doing intermittent fasting and time restricted eating, skipping breakfast might be the way to go, so you wouldn't eat first thing in the morning, but I've given you some options there. Another great time to eat is within a 6 to 8 hour feeding window every day. So this is when we're talking about time restricted feeding. And this is just a great way to do 2 things: to restrict overall food consumption, and to also mitigate, to decrease the amount of times that you're potentially stimulating an insulin release by raising blood sugar through a meal. So ultimately, stimulating insulin resistance leads to doing it a lot and doing it at high levels from eating a lot of carbs or processed food is going to potentially lead to insulin resistance, and we want to mitigate that. And an easy way to do that is just to restrict the eating window, and to restrict it within like a 6 to 8 hour window every day. So you eat within a 6 to 8 hour window, and you don't eat the rest of the time. Simple as that. Another great time to eat, and this isn't really a time as much as a routine, is eat at fairly consistent times. Consistent eating, sleeping, waking, and even training schedules makes your body metabolically happy, metabolically efficient. It helps balance and optimize hormone levels. So be routine, be consistent. Now, let me finish here with a time that's not great to eat. Between meals. Try to eliminate snacking. That's like a simple thing that you can do. And this goes back to what I was saying about trying to limit the amount of times that we stimulate insulin or stimulate insulin release, which is leading to a whole host and cascade of things that is not good, both from a body composition standpoint, as well as from an energetic, mental focus standpoint, and also from a health and longevity standpoint. All right, hope you found this helpful. Stick to the basics. Don't overcook your meat or your approach. And hit me with a like if you appreciated the message and found it somewhat valuable. Peace.